Hey, welcome to the Fireside Tattoo Podcast, the official podcast of the Fireside Tattoo Network. Go to tattooimprovement.com, sign up for our mailing list. Just a few short weeks away. When is this coming out? Wednesday, probably? Just a few short weeks away from Nick Baxter's workshop in this very room. We still got some space available. We've got some good artists coming down, though, coming from all over the country, so you should be one of them. Join or sign up at tattooimprovement.com. Is it like, just go to upcoming workshops, I think. There's a specific address, but I forget it. It's like Tattoo Improvement /Nick Baxter or something. What else? Hell City. We will be podcasting at Hell City in Phoenix in August. I'll be tattooing there as well, so if you'd like to get tattooed, you can email me, jake@firesidetats.com, and we can line something up. I still have space available to tattoo. If you are a tattooer that's going to be at the event and you want to talk, maybe come on the show, promote your work, give us a shout. You can just email the same address. We might just reach out to you because we're going to start going through and finding artists that we'd like to sit down and talk with. Shortly after that, I will be in Atlantic Beach at the Impact event, Impact for Tattooers event that Melissa Ferranto is putting on. Not exactly sure everything I'll be doing. I know I'll be in the VIP brainstorm or VIP think tank. So if you bought a VIP ticket, I'll be in there like helping to answer questions or whatever, stimulate conversation. And I may be leading an art room as well if I can stay that long. I think the art rooms are on the last day and I don't know if I'll make it that long. But either way, I'll be involved, I'll be around and trying to help out, do whatever I can do there. A lot of good tattooers there. Nick Baxter, Derb Morrison, like I said, Melissa Ferranto is doing her thing, several other tattooers as well. What else? Any other announcements? Is that it? What are you doing? Is he listening to the door over there? Oh yeah, music outside. All right, that's it. That's all the upcoming stuff. So let's get down to the nuts and bolts of this show. This one may be fairly short, but I think it's kind of an important one. This is a question that came from Josh Walden on Facebook, and Josh is actually an American artist who is apprenticing right now in China, which is probably pretty interesting. And he said his goal one day is to be interviewed on Fireside, and I think that that's the subject of the interview. So if you make your way back to the U.S., we'll make it happen. Or if we make our way to China, we'll make it happen, because I would love to know what it's like to learn how to tattoo in a foreign country, speaking another language. But that's not what his question was about. His question was about struggling with self-doubt and emotional challenges during the learning process of tattooing. And we get this a lot, whether you're in a great apprenticeship or a poor apprenticeship, or whether you're kind of self-taught and you've just made your way into the industry some way or another. We're always getting questions related to people just feeling hopeless at times, struggling. And it's funny. I just watched a TED Talk, and I wish I could think of the name of it, but it was so good, and it was about goal setting. It was about how to separate your ideals from your actuals. So I'll kind of explain what that means. So like, I'll give you an example. I would love to paint like Jeremy Lipking. I think he's awesome. Or I'd love to paint portraits maybe like Casey Ball. I'd love to tattoo dragons like Philip Liu. And so I can set these ideals, these like goals that are way on the horizon. But the thing is the vast number of those goals are really kind of unattainable anyways. Like, I probably will never paint like Jeremy Lipking, and if so, he already paints that way, so what's the point? So, but I could set that as an ideal, something way out on the horizon. But if I use that ideal to measure myself day in and day out, then I'm always in a state of failure. Nothing's ever going right for me. I'm pushing happiness over the horizon. If my happiness or my feeling of content is attached directly to these ideals. But if we use these ideals to help us to get up and strive to get better the next day, but we measure ourselves against yesterday, against our actuals. So to relate it to tattooing and to relate it to Josh's trouble, I would imagine maybe you're struggling with some technical problem. Maybe lines aren't going in that well, or your heels are a little bit rough, or whatever it is. And I know at that phase, it's normally technical problems that are so discouraging in your first year of tattooing. But if you're around great artists and and you're looking at their line work and you're saying, God, I can't get my lines like that, what's my problem? Well, then, yeah, you're probably always going to struggle emotionally. It'll take you a long time, and you'll probably give up before you ever get there. But if you measure it against your line work yesterday or against your line work last week, then you can see incremental progress. And it's always about, progress, not perfection. So I think of that in most every aspect of my life. I try to detach my happiness from my goals and find some way to enjoy the journey. So, you're tattooing in China. That sounds like that's probably a pretty unique experience. There's probably a lot of things that stimulate you, creatively, or that other people aren't experiencing. And just think, like, probably, 99.9% of the world would love to have that set of problems. Just struggling to get lines in, or struggling to get clients, or struggling to earn a decent living in tattooing. A lot of people, that's like a hopeless idea to them, to earn a living in something that they love. So try to keep that stuff in mind. I think it really helps. Now, if back to the idea of technical struggles, if I had an apprentice, which I don't, but if I had an apprentice, I think that I would focus more on drawing than anything else. Your technique, people don't believe it, but your technique will come. And it probably won't be like your mentor's technique or like the other people that you look up to. You'll find your own way of making marks in the skin that work. It's why it's such a tough thing to teach. If you're always focused on your drawing, then you can allow for some of the shortcomings that you have technically, especially early on. So if your problem is getting solid fills, getting solid lines in the skin, getting solid fills, whatever it is, you might find that you can tweak what you're doing in your drawings to kind of cheat that a little bit. So maybe you can't get big areas of solid fill. Well, how about breaking up those areas and thinking on the front end about, well, am I going to have to fill all this in blue? Because that's probably not something I'll be good at. Maybe I'll put a wind bar through here so that I break this blue up, or something like that. So focus on the drawing first, and let your drawing early on kind of help to dictate or help to offset some of your shortcomings technically. So the technical stuff will come, and if you're focused on becoming a better draftsman, then it'll come even faster, and it'll come without you even realizing it. You'll just notice it, like, oh, this worked great this time. Or maybe you won't even notice. Maybe you'll just find that, like, something will come back healed, and you'll go, wow, I've like rounded a corner. Things are working better for me now. But back to that point of the goal setting and of pushing happiness kind of over that cognitive horizon. We talk to shop owners over the years, talk to people that are struggling in other parts of their career, financially or whatever else. And it's like, if the shop owner is saying, like, man, if we could just hit $1 million a year in revenue, then everything would change. Then we could get the shop updated, and then we could bring in better artists, and then we could add 2 more stations, and we could do this and we could do that. So you set this goal of, we need $1 million a year in revenue, and then everything will be good. Then I'll be happy. But inevitably, what happens is you work, you get to that $1 million goal. That's not that unattainable, and then you grab it and you go, oh, that's cool, $1 million. $2 million would be so much better. Once we get there, then I'll be happy. Then things will start to go right. And so it's just a lose-lose. It's just you'll never get over that hump, and you'll end up burning out. The thing that I've noticed being around great artists over the last several years, doing this show, taking workshops, things like that, is they are kind of just perpetually happy people. They're just content. They get up every day and they look forward to what's happening that day. And you might look at someone like, say, a Guy Aitchison and say, well, yeah, he's got an awesome private studio out in the middle of the wilderness, and people fly in to get tattooed by him, and he charges these huge rates. But the thing is that those levels of success didn't make Guy happy. He had that attitude on the front end, which is why he ended up in the situation that he's in. And I just grabbed him out of thin air as an example, but I can think of dozens of artists that I've met over the years, or just successful people in business and art and whatever, and their happiness is just never dictated by their goals. It's a precursor to success. So you'll on the flip side of that, think of think of tattooers that are always blaming. Think of the shops in your town that maybe don't do that well. If you ever find yourself around these people, and we've found ourselves around them a good bit too, and over the course of the show, where it's always they're struggling because of outside influences. The economy's terrible, and that's why our tattooing has been down so much. We have a crappy clientele. It's just our area, and people come in and they don't want good tattoos. They want cheap tattoos. And if I raise my prices, then they're going to go someplace else. And there's all these like obstacles in their way, all the time. Obstacle, 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 and they never turn to themselves and ask what they could do to improve their situation. They just always focus on outside sources and how they're being cheated, and maybe it's another shop down the street that stole their best artist and offered them more money or whatever it is. And if you find yourself, especially as an apprentice, if you find yourself in one of those situations where you're dealing with tattooers like that, I say get out of it as quickly as you can, because it just is a sinking ship. It's tough to be around people like that on a regular basis, and it really draws you out of being able to detach your happiness from those goals, or it draws you in and makes you want to blame outside sources. That's really all I've got on that. I just and that's probably way beyond what you were looking for in that question. But going back to Josh, focus on your drawing, man. Try not to get discouraged by small technical issues, and try not to let your ideals dictate your happiness. Measure based on yesterday. Don't measure based on next year or where you want to be. And you'll always find that you're making progress, and I'm sure that you are. And I look forward to having you on the show one day. Thanks again. Go to Fireside. No, not Fireside. TattooImprovement.com. Sign up. We'll see you next time.